This is a day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. We have a lot to rejoice over today in that we're introducing formally the relationship of the Shepherd's Fund to Gammon ITC. And I have this distinguished panel of folks here with us today to give us insight into the Shepherd's Fund. The Shepherd's Fund is a benefit for retired clergy and spouses. And I have with me Sister Dorothy Henderson and Dr. Mackie Norris, and the Executive Director of the Shepherd's Fund, Reverend Robert Beckham. So the three of us will have a discussion about the benefits of the Shepherd's Fund. So first off, Reverend Beckham, tell us an overview of what the Shepherd's Fund is and what the benefits are.
The Shepherd's Fund was conceived by a donor that I represent to express God's blessing, care, compassion to those who've served Christ's church, ministers, their spouses, retirees, and the surviving spouses of clergy. And it was a benefit grant not based on need per se, but on life stage issues, medical issues, that would let them know they're not forgotten, they are cared for, and we still thank God for them and their service in the church. That's the purpose of the Shepherd's Fund.
Dr. Norris, you had a big role in bringing this benefit to Gammon ITC. So can you give us your view of what this will mean to our constituency?
One of the things that I had the opportunity to be involved in was looking at a study done by Westpath, the pension component of the United Methodist Church, and it was a task force looking at church systems. I knew it already, but it came even clearer to those of us that were on the task force that there are inherent difficulties brought about by the systems of the United Methodist Church. One of those systems is itinerancy and parsonages. For many clergy and clergy spouses and clergy families, the opportunity and responsibility to own their own home for their later years is thwarted by the system that says you live in a parsonage. And so one of the things that I am excited about the Shepherd's Fund is that there are opportunities to pay forward, if you will, the sacrifices and the dedication and commitment by clergy spouses and clergy families dealing with the ministry of service.
Sister Henderson, you gave us a view of some of the sacrifices that spouses make in terms of supporting the ministry. Can you give us just a little thumbnail of what those sacrifices are and how this fund may be of assistance?
When I reflect back on my time with Cornelius Henderson in the ministry, every move that we made was a financial sacrifice. And I will always remember him saying, Dorothy, just stay with me. Everything will work out just fine. And when we moved from Nashville, Tennessee, back to Ben Hill United Methodist Church, we went from $45,000 to $12,000.
Wow.
And I had to reflect upon the scripture that I quoted on the day that we married, coming from Ruth, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. And I thought a long time about from $45,000 to $12,000. But I went, and some of the happiest days of my life was spent at Ben Hill United Methodist Church. And I watched that church grow from less than 300 to well over 4,000 under his leadership in a short period of time, and a package from 12,000 to 100,000. So I decided, well, everybody won't have that type of opportunity. And I'm excited about the Shepherd's Fund because many spouses and are without their husbands who might be laboring a little bit. I was blessed to go from the bottom to the top being a bishop's spouse. but I think of others that I know about that I constantly check on and even help. And I am so excited to be a part of this ministry. And I thank you, Charles, for including me. And I'm excited that we're doing this at Gammon, in as much as my husband at one time served as a president dean before he became a bishop. Thank you very much.
And Charles, we're so thankful for the help of getting this started at Gammon. We're also very thankful for the support of President Williams with ITC that would extend the Shepherd's Fund to all the alumni, clergy alumni of ITC, regardless of school in the consortium, and hopefully would impact a broader spectrum of servants of Christ across the country.
So well said. Let me ask you this. Can you speak a moment to the initiative that you expressed to me when we first connected about extending this benefit more readily to African American clergy and spouses?
We started with the United Methodist Church and the South Georgia Conference because that's what I knew. And we've broadened to 16 annual conferences now in the United Methodist Church. But what we found in every one, that is, grants are made. If we stay within the confines of the United Methodist Church, it will be about a 15.6% minority reflection in the grants. We know that there are many African American pastors beyond the United Methodist Church that have served faithfully, Hispanic pastors who serve faithfully, who need the blessing that we can offer. And going through the seminaries is one way to cross denominational lines, be more inclusive racially, and to seek out those whom God would bless through the Shepherd's Fund.
And I can say, based on personal experience of these last few months and being an ambassador for the Shepherd's Fund, the blessing and benefits are enormous. I have one of my former pastor's spouses is a recipient right now in the process. And I don't want to divulge too much, but let's just suffice it to say that that great cloud of witnesses is celebrating the benefit that the Shepherd's Fund is extending to her. So thank you, and thank the donors of the Shepherd's Fund for the great blessing that you're bringing to our people.
And Charles, one last thing that I would mention about the process. I hope that people will hear, know this is for them, and apply. But we also use a ministry called Helping Hands, because a foundation, a charitable foundation, cannot give money to an individual. But Helping Hands ministry can pay bills, direct checks to individuals as it's needed. And so we work through them, not to confuse people, but they're also to protect any HIPAA information and hold in utter privacy their personal information that we don't know. We just know and vet the grant application, but they hold all medical and personal information in confidence. They're able to do payments directly to individuals.
Now, let me ask you this. What is too much? Can we inundate the system to the point where you can't handle it?
The donor that I represented told me you can't give away too much. Because his heart and his wife's heart is in this ministry. The grant limits are about $10,000 per year per person in the relationship, clergy and spouse.
I think it's important for us to also indicate that this in no way will repay clergy and spouses for their service.
Absolutely.
You can't,
No way.
you can't pay it. It's not enough money to repay it. What it is an indication of God's blessing for them, because they have been such a blessing for people throughout their careers.
For all of us, yes.
And so we want to share this blessing And I think the Shepherd's Fund and the Helping Hands is an opportunity not to pay, we cannot pay, but to show God's love to the people who have shown God's love to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people throughout their careers. And it's just another indication of God's goodness and grace.
And many of the spouses and ministers did not have the opportunity to pay into the pension fund, or did not even know that they could pay extra money into that pension fund that would help them later in life. And so they are very limited with what they are receiving now for very, very, very hard work. And a lot of times you just left out by not knowing that you can pay extra. And this is a way to express gratitude to them.
And even those with adequate retirement, it doesn't take much in prescription medicine, an illness, or home repairs to knock you off financial center in retirement. And this is meant to be a blessing to offset those expenses.
If you need the benefits of the Shepherd's Fund, or if you know of anyone that needs the benefits of the Shepherd's Fund, just contact the ITC Alumni Office, mention the Shepherd's Fund, and we're in place to help you navigate through the website and, if necessary, make a telephone call into the Shepherd's Fund. But let nothing stop you from applying and getting the benefit that God has so richly blessed us with. Thank you so much.